Okay, we're back. We're going to load up our casts and our powder coats. We got these blue ones here, 45 ACP, and we're going to test the velocity. So we got our 30 powder coats and our 30 casts here. First we're going to size and lube our powder coat bullets here. Then we'll weigh them out and get them loaded up and take a test. So here we go. Okay, next we've got these all lube sized. We got 30 of each. They should all be pretty close to the same weight. We'll double check them in a minute here. So next we're going to set up our press here to do 45. I believe it's set up right now for 40 Smith & Wesson. Yep, number 10. So we'll go ahead and put that in the video here. Okay, so this is the Hornayday, what do they call this thing? Lock-N-Load. I've been pretty happy with it so far. I haven't had much issues. So to change these out, we got to pull these off. Just twist and pull. Pull our shell plate off here. Looks like we got a lonely primer there. Get our thing off here. Always good to do that. Set up like so. Now our powder measurer is going to be a pain in the butt, of course. Okay, so basically here, there's our expander. So in order for the expander to work, you got to have this little tension bar here on. It comes with the kit. It's something that you don't use unless you're doing this. So we've got to get this guy off. So we pull the spring, slide it off, loosen this up, then this whole bottom should come off. Set that there for now. And there's our expander going on. Got our 45 expander, got our sizer, our deprimer, incisor, expander, and then our seater here. I always use the flat seater for cast. It seems to work better. Eventually I want to get a small lathe and start making these you know, to fit better. It should be pretty easy to do. Alright, we could throw our plate back on. Just get it on there pretty tight for now. I'll show you how to tighten it good if it's slipping on you. Put our depriming sizing die in. And then we want to put our seater in. And we're going to go through and double check all this before we start loading here. Check the height and everything. We just slide our expander die or whatever you want to call it in there. Get her sat. And I've got to switch out my powders real quick. Okay, we are going to get our clays put back. Something you should always do, and this one fell out, but I always put a piece of tape on here and write the type of powder you got in there. Just so that you don't end up having to throw some powder away because you don't remember what it goes to, if that makes sense. Alright, that's it. Back in the safe. We're going to use 700X to load these. Okay, so we got our two books here. I just wanted to double check some things here since we're going between, I guess you could call this a jacketed bullet and then a regular cast bullet, right? We're going to use 700X. You can see here that the suggested starting grains for cast is at four starting grains, right? So that's the lowest that they're suggesting. Velocity is 625, which we'll be checking and confirming tomorrow. Come over here, we got 230 grain jacketed round nose. And if you could see here, we got 700X starting at 3.6, velocity of 667. So our max is going to be 4.8, so we're going to do this at 4 as well. So we're going to have the same grainage in there. if you do the math, you'd see that the velocity comes out to about the same if we're 667 with 3.6 grains here, over here we're at 675 with 4 grains. And if you look at the maximum, it tends to line up, but we're going to be checking our velocity anyways. So I just wanted to tell you that that's how I came to this measurement here of 4 grains of 700X for both. We're still within the safe parameters of both, so that's what we're going to do. So first, before we put the powder in, we need to get this thing adjusted for the expander. That way we don't have to keep emptying it. It's always a good idea to put the type of powder on a piece of tape up here. I don't know if you can see that in the video. That way if something comes up and you don't get out here for a little while, or you never know what can happen, you don't end up having to guess or ultimately just throw away a bucket of powder here. So to test our height and everything on this, we've got a shell still primed, spit primer. I'm going to go ahead and stick it up there. We want to make sure that this is going all the way up but not touching, right? See how we got a little play there. So technically this is sat in the right position there. Go ahead and tighten that down. Double check it. Good thing we did. It's now touching. So we're going to back it off a little bit. Got ourselves a little gap there. I just put them down finger tight and then tighten down your clamp. And as you can see, it'll hold it fine. Okay, let's go ahead and drop it. You get this guy put on. This is what's going to stop this from going up to allow the expander to work. And then our spring goes on top of that. Like so. Go ahead and raise this up and make sure that this is stopping it. So we need it to stop a little more. You can raise either one up. I usually just leave the top one almost all the way down so it doesn't rub. Alright, you can see that it stopped there. And that looks good. Next, we're going to put the powder in. Again, we're using 700X. And we want 4 grains. Alright, what I like to do is get my my case that I'm going to run through it and tar it on that. We're at 4.3. We're going to lock it in right about there. Alright, next we are going to change our primer feed out. See, we got the small primer in there. So we slide that guy out. Take our punch out. Alright, got our large primer feed. Just slide that in. Oops. Make sure you don't cross thread these. Put our spring back. Test her out. Looking good. We got to change our small primer tube to the large. Cap on. Now we need to fill it with primers. We'll go and load up our primer feed. That's it. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and drop the primers into the tube here. I like to lift this up just a little bit. Hope they all go. I know they come with a wooden or a plastic one, but I got a copper one. It adds a little more weight and causes it to be less fussy when loading. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and run one through the system here and make sure that our lengths are good at the end. We're not going to bother priming them, but go ahead and size it. That would be priming it. Next, this is the one that we've already sized the top of. Actually, it's this one. So next we're going to go ahead and test the overall length. You're going to end up running a bullet. Looks pretty good. Let's test the measurements on it. 126.75. Double check that, but pretty sure that's right about where I want it. Yep, that is good. So we're good to start loading. Okay, for lubing, I wouldn't suggest doing it this way for a rifle. One-shot case lube works good for pistol. A little squirt. They're ready to go. So, resize, decap, prime. Nothing. Charge, expand. Haha, small primer. Nothing. Oops. And we can stick our bullet in. And go for it. Alright, there we have them. That's for our test tomorrow. 30 of each. We'll check the velocity. They all got 4 grains of 700x.